Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of BSD Synergy. This week's episode is titled FreeNAS. Why didn't I do this sooner? I'm your host Mason Egger, and let's just jump on into it. So what is FreeNAS? FreeNAS is an appliance distribution of FreeBSD focused solely on network-attached storage. It is definitely enterprise grade. It's built on ZFS, and it's the most popular NAS operating system. Where can FreeNAS be used? Well, it definitely is enterprise ready. I've been messing with it all weekend, and it has so many features that would make dealing with enterprise grade storage systems completely and utterly easy, but it's also good for home use. I finally got my machine back together. Currently, it's running 5 Western Digital 3 terabyte drives and a solid state drive for the operating system. Now it is older hardware. It's got a Pentium Core 2 Duo for its processor and 8 gigs of RAM, so I'm pretty sure FreeNAS is not happy with me. But it is running, and it's running darn well, and it was super easy to install. And once I figured out some of the little things, it's been running like a dream. Also, I have a FreeNAS chart. Doop doop doop. So, what are some of the features that you can look forward to in the FreeNAS box that you're most definitely going to want to go and build after you've watched this video? Some of the great features are replication. It has replication built in for all of the major operating systems. It has time machine support built in, Windows backup support built in, including Crash Plan, which I'll get to later. It has rsync, and then it even has the PCBSD Life Preserver built in. And that's kind of obvious because FreeNAS and PCBSD, soon to be TrueOS Desktop, are both built and maintained by IX Systems. It has encryption. It has volume level encryption using FreeBSD's Geli or Jelly, it's Geli, I don't know how to say that one. And it uses AES-NI when available. It has the ability to take snapshots, which I'll get to in a second. File sharing from all of the major operating systems, Apple file shares, Windows file shares, NFS with Unix file shares, all of that built in and really easy to set up. It has a really good web UI. It also has console and SSH access, but you can actually launch an interactive shell from the web UI and just run your shell from the web UI, which is pretty nifty. It also supports a decent amount of plugins to be run. Some of the ones that I saw that are pretty interesting to me are OwnCloud, building your own personal cloud. Plex Media Server, which is actually what I spent this entire weekend setting up. Transmission for torrents. Couch Potato. You can even build your own Minecraft server on your FreeNAS. So there are two major components to FreeNAS, which I'm going to briefly cover. And then you're going to see probably a slew of videos in the future about them, because these two things are really the meat of FreeNAS, in my opinion at least, and it's one of those wonderful things that FreeBSD offers. And this is that it's built on top of ZFS and using jails. So there's definitely going to be a jails video, possibly videos in the future. But the thing about jails that you need to know for now is it's a process isolation, kind of similar to LXC containers and Docker, but better. It's a full operating system. It has separate network stacks. It has its own users and groups, including root, which, if I know properly, is a problem with LXC containers between the privileged and unprivileged containers. It has its own processes, and it's unable to access other jails outside of normal network access. It's just its own isolated little environment for FreeBSD installs. It is similar to containers in how it's, one kernel to rule them all. They are more than just Docker, and they're very mature. Jails came out in FreeBSD 4.0, and they've only been getting better. Definitely come back later in the future for a video on jails. One of the other things that it's built on top of is the great and powerful ZFS. ZFS is a file system that was originally conceptualized by Sun for the Solaris operating system. And now we have OpenZFS, which is, the open source port of ZFS. But it's a really nifty file system. It's a combined file system and LV manager. It focuses on data protection, high storage capacities, and to the point of insane amount of storage. I've read about ZFS pools and stuff with hundreds of terabytes of data. Efficient data compression, continuous integrity checking and repair. It uses the RAID Z layouts, which is a special ZFS RAID layout. It has native CIFS, NFS, and ACLs. It is a copy-on-write file system. Honestly, I could go on with ZFS forever. Definitely look forward to the mini videos. I know that will not be one. I have books that I went over last week that I'm going to be reading, and there's going to be a lot of ZFS in the future. Now, one of the things that ZFS enables is the ability to take snapshots, and this really, in my opinion, is where the ZFS magic shines. It is an exact replica of the file table at any moment in time. It is nearly instantaneous, even for large data sets. It's recursive. It is enabled by the copy on write block level changes only, and it's actually conceptually similar to a diff, but it is more flexible since it's happening at the block level, and ZFS doesn't need to know the file format. And the snapshots can even be aged out, using cron. So you can, I think that's how Life Preserver works in the TrueOS, is it's literally just ZFS snapshots. Look forward to those videos. I'm excited for it. I'm not going to claim to be a ZFS expert right now, but I'm definitely hoping to one day get to be a ZFS expert. Okay, now let's just jump on over to the demo. Okay, so today I'm actually not going to cover the installation of FreeNAS, mostly because it took me a little while to figure out how to do everything, and actually the installation from the bootable disk is really easy, and I'll actually kind of go over that in a little bit. I already spent the majority of the weekend actually setting up my system, so for once I'm actually going to be taking you on a tour through my current working system that I'm still tweaking, but I'm currently working on, because it did take me a while to figure out how to do exactly what it is that I wanted to do. Okay, so this is the FreeNAS Dashboard. And this is currently this is FreeNAS 9.10, the stable release. I know that they just released, I think it happened like 2 days ago, like beginning of September. They released beta for for FreeNAS 10, and I was really like, oh, maybe I should wait for FreeNAS 10, Upgrading isn't terrible, but it's going to be new. It's supposed to have a lot of really cool new features. And then I looked at the release cycle, and it's not coming out until February. And I was like, no, I really want my Plex server back, so I'm going to go ahead and do the FreeNAS. Who knows? I may rebuild once FreeNAS 10 comes out. Actually, I'm hoping that by the time FreeNAS 10 comes out, I will have saved up enough money to where I can buy a FreeNAS Mini XL for my X systems, and they will have FreeNAS 10 pre-installed, and then I'll just rebuild my entire FreeNAS, which unfortunately is a massive pain in my ass. Not because it's difficult to build these, it was actually very simple, but because I need to transfer data from the Plex server over, and terabytes of data transfer takes a long time. Okay, so the first thing that's going to happen whenever you boot in is you're going to get taken to the wizard. And you can always relaunch the wizard from here, and you're going to select next. Now, the only thing that I wish I could actually show you would be how to actually lay out your disks. And it'll ask you about a disk layout before it gets to this screen. Wanting you to name your pool, name your Z pool, and then selecting your disk layout. I have five 3 terabyte Western Digital Reds, so I chose Red Z2. So basically 3 of those are accessible to me, and the other 2 are parity disks. If I had had my way, and if I actually had one more SATA port and power in my server, I would totally be doing full RAID Z mirror. I think it's Z10. I don't remember. But do a full mirror of it, because I want to be absolutely sure that that I don't have to worry about it at all. Now, I know 2 parity disks is pretty good, but one of the things that I've read articles on, and I'm gonna be talking about this from my memory. I have not researched this recently, so if I'm wrong, leave me a comment, let me know. But as the data sets are getting larger, RAID is becoming less and less useful. Now, RAID Z is actually pretty good, and it's not bad, but you really want a full mirror, because the amount of time it takes to rebuild on, 100 terabytes on parity, it takes forever, and it's really disk and IO intensive. And the possibility is that if you're rebuilding and one of your other drives fails while you're rebuilding your RAID, you just lost it. It's gone. So I've read a lot about how like RAID Z6 and full mirror is really the way to go now if you're really concerned about your data integrity. If I can find those articles, maybe I'll link them below. And again, I could be wrong. I read this, oh man, 6-7 months ago. But I remember going, wow, okay, so RAID is finally starting to reach its limits, and we really need to move to ZFS. So that'll be interesting. But anyways, you would check those here. And then here's the thing where I messed up at first. I saw this wizard with directory services, and I don't have any of these servers at all. I don't have an LDAP server, an NIS server. I don't even know what that is. NT4? I think NT4 is like the old Windows auth. And if that's the case, that's bad. Like, There's an old Windows authentication protocol that is just known, don't use it because it's insecure as hell. Like they've moved on to something else, and they just don't use it. Like Kerberos, you really should be using Kerberos, which AD would be using. You could configure AD to use Kerberos. But where I made the mistake is I thought I had to do this, so I just clicked exit. Well, none of my changes took place, so that really paused me for a while. It kind of should say maybe optional here. I think that would be really useful. Next. Okay, so you can create shares here, and currently I don't have any because these shares seem to also create actually create data sets, and I mean, it worked, and I probably could have got it to work, but I really don't want to create a data set at the beginning. And this is actually, if I had done this ownership stuff, I probably would have saved myself some problems, but I don't want to create a share, so we're not going to. I would suggest creating your data set and creating a share on the side. Console messages, and these are just some other things: root email, from email, all this stuff. I didn't set any of this up for now. I probably will eventually, but for now I haven't. You sig next, and I'm gonna exit without saving because I've already configured it. Okay, so as you can see, I have my pool, which is at 3 terabytes, and then this is actually my Z pool. Now, oh no, that's used. I've used 3 terabytes. Okay, so the available is 10.6. That's not actually true because I don't know where, or if it is, I don't know where those extra 4 terabytes are, but I did put it in RAID Z2, so that means that there really should only be 9 terabytes available. And this previously used to have a lot, like, was closer to 9, and that was more accurate. So why it says 10.6 here, that's if it was behaving in a RAID Z1. But mine is definitely in RAID Z2. So I don't know. I ignored that. 6 terabytes. My Plex server is currently taking up a lot of space. It's currently taking up 1.7 terabytes of my data. My personal data set, this is just for my own personal storage. My Plex stuff has movies and TV. So I have a movie section and a TV section, so I have 2 different Plex libraries. And it is not compressing worth a damn right now. I probably need to turn that on. And then actually, I have jails. And I have the Warden template jail. It takes up very little to nothing. This is actually the Plex Media Server jail. And I'm going to go over how to set up plugins and stuff. And the interesting thing is all your plugins are set up in jails. Yeah, so as you can see here, 5 3 terabyte Western Digital drives. Okay, to see your actual RAID configurations is you would click on your overarching pool. And you click on the button down there at the bottom, which is stats and stuff. And as you can see, it is my pool, and it is in a RAID Z2. So that top number is incorrect. So, but the other thing is you have your pool, which this is a data set, and you can change the permissions, create a snapshot of it, destroy the data set, edit your options, create a data set, or create a ZVol here. And then what I did is I just created data sets, and then I created data sets within data sets, so that way I could have, they're basically just mount points. One of the things that I found that really stopped me from getting stuff working was the permissions. And honestly, I probably overdid it here. Everybody probably doesn't need to execute, but I originally had these being set to root, and that probably could still work. I probably can change these back to that, but I changed it to nobody and no group. And then gave other people the ability to write, because basically I wasn't logging in as root, and also it wasn't letting me log in. I tried for a while to use root as my main user, and ZFS or the FreeNAS typically just would not allow it. So that's pretty nifty. It's like its own personal built-in safeguard. But yeah, I could actually set the user, the group, and then the modes. This is probably where I was messing up yesterday. I tried forever to get it to write and was not finding this permission setting. And then you can do it. But the interesting thing is I could do it over here too. But I can also set the permissions recursively, so all data sets below will also get it. So basically, user and group, I'm gonna look at. I can probably change those back to root and lose no functionality. Probably because I needed other people to be able to, or I need to allow others to write. But we should be fine. They're probably not the best settings on a security standpoint, and that's bad, and I'm going to learn about it. But for now, one person apartment, this isn't exposed to an outside network. I'm really not that concerned about it. bigger fish to fry, but I definitely will be looking at it. So if I'm gonna tinker with it and break the crap out of it. It's typically what I do. I tinker, I break shit, I fix it. I tinker, I break shit, I fix it. It's my life. So that's pretty nifty. And you would just create your data sets here, and that would be great. And you'd be rearing to go. Set that, and then what you need to do is you need to create shares. I had originally tried doing some Apple shares because I work mostly off a Mac, but then I was like, oh, maybe I'll do some Windows shares because I do have a Surface Pro um, right here that I was going to try to access from. I really think this thing, I use this for show notes, and I use it for OneNote because I like being able to digitally write notes out. It's really good for like when I take classes or stuff. So I eventually was just like, screw it, I'm just going to do NFS shares because I know everything can speak NFS. I did not use a web dev share, but also you can even do block Iscuzzy Target, Iscuzzy shares, so you can use Iscuzzy Target. That's one that usually catches people by surprise. They're like, "What? It does Iscuzzy?" Yeah, it does Iscuzzy. Um, it's a pretty cool thing. So you have jails over here on this side, and then the jails. This is my Plex media server, which I'm going to go over in a minute. But the fact that I can actually add jails, I think is cool because this works as kind of like a FreeBSD like host for services. It doesn't have to be a NAS server. It doesn't have to just be pure storage. If I have enough processing power and I have enough RAM, I could actually run services from a FreeNAS by running them inside my jails. That gives me lots of ideas, and I'm probably going to tinker with that. But right now I can view my jails, and this is my Plex Media Server jail. I can restart the jail. I can actually shell in right here, and I now have a shell inside my Plex Media console. The PMS updater that some of you are seeing right here, if you do end up doing Plex and you want to be able to update it, you'll have to Google online for an article on how to download this so you can update your Plex server. Because for some reason the automatic updates didn't work from the web UI like they usually did. So I might look into that later, but that's what that is. But yeah, you have shell access right into your jail. I can restart the jail, stop the jail, restart the jail. I can upload a plugin. I can add storage to the jail, which is actually what you have, which is what I had to do for Plex. So basically, I created the Plex. Well, here, let's just go through the process of Plex. So plugins. Creating your Plex server. These are all the plugins currently supported by FreeNAS, and these are the ones that work or that go in. So you have your Bakula SD, so it's a network backup solution. BT Sync, Clone Deploy, Couch Potato, Crash Plan, which I've known. I think I know a couple universities that use Crash Plan for backing up of faculty machines. MB, don't know what that is. Firefly open source media server for the Roku Soundbridge and Apple iTunes. Interesting. Headphones, automatic music downloader, HTPC manager. This one would actually be pretty nice. An XBMC HTPC. It's nifty. I used to use XBMC before I moved on to Plex. I used to, I think I did like a Samba share and then mounted it and used XBMC to stream through a Raspberry Pi. And while that was good, Raspberry Pi is not really good at encoding. And they might be now. I was using a Pi 1, so that was obviously not the best decision. Mine OS, I love this. I'm looking forward to being able to set up a Minecraft server on my FreeNAS. Nerd! Mylar, all that stuff, Plex, transmission, pretty nifty. So basically you would select Plex and you would just click install. And it would install, and then you could go to install, and this is basically where you turn it on. But it creates a jail. So if we go back over here to my jails, it creates a jail. And then what I did was, as you can see, as you saw in my, where's it at? My storage. I created a data set and then two sub data sets for movies and TV. These are two separate mountable data sets. As you can see, I only have like 400 gigs worth of movies, but I have almost 1.4 terabytes worth of television. So then I would go back to my jails. Actually, this is where you can edit your jail. View jails, and then I added storage. And basically what I did is I gave it the source, which is the mount. It's in my pool. And then I gave it a destination within the jail and mounted it, and there it is. It's there. And I could even have set it to read-only if I want to. And I might actually do that because Plex really doesn't need to be modifying these files. Only I need to be modifying these files. So I mounted those in. They're in there. And then the interesting thing that I like about jails is by default, it got an IP address on my subnet that's not the IP address of the server. The IP address of the server, as you can see up here, is .7, and the IP address of my Plex server is .2. So the jail gets its own independent IP address, which is pretty nifty. And then like I have to do some things in pfSense to make Plex work. I'll probably write a post about getting Plex to work with pfSense. So I had all that. And then I needed to get the shares working. And if you want to know where I was stuck all fucking day yesterday, it was working on this stupid share settings. Eventually finding the settings in the datasets and properly creating a actual NFS share. The thing that I had found out was that I tried to just do a share on Mount My Pool Plex, and I was trying to get into movies and to TV, and I could see them, but I could not actually physically access them. And what I found out, and this is again my stupidity, they look like directories. They're not directories. They're datasets, and the dataset needs its own mount point or for sharing. So even though I could see those directories, I did not have permission to mount those datasets, so I could not put data inside those datasets. My fault. So I did all that. I was able to transfer data over. I think it took like 15 hours for me to transfer data from my like USB 3.0 hard drives through my Mac, through my network, back across. But my data setup, my Plex server finally finished syncing, so all of my stuff is back together, and it's awesome, and it's going. I love that it runs on here. I'm looking forward to an IX Systems box. Now, some other nifty things that you can see in here are things like reporting, CPU usage, disk usage, who's doing it, that's awesome. Memory usage, network usage, partitions, system, target, Iscuzzy Target, ZFS, and what the hit ratio is, and all this. I have no idea what half this stuff is. So it's got good reporting with good maps. You can schedule tasks such as cron jobs, init, shutdown scripts, rsync tasks, and smart tests. System has all these things you can obviously tinker with. I have to say right now, I will show you my favorite feature. And FreeNAS, you're doing it right. Just saying. This little button over here, the guide, is their full documentation that I would find online built in. Yeah. That's some good shit. So, I had said that I was going to show you the installation process, but I really couldn't have shown you because VGA don't have anything to capture VGA, didn't want to go out and purchase something that would capture VGA. So, but I can actually show you through the screenshots inside the documentation that's built into FreeNAS. Woot woot. So, I'll go to the installing FreeNAS, and I'm not going to show you how to make the bootable USB, but basically, grub boots, you select install, you select which data set you want to install the host OS on. You must have at least 2 drives, or at least a storage drive and somewhere to store the host OS. Otherwise, if you don't, you'll just have the host OS. You won't have any drives. But if you choose more than one on here, it will actually mirror the host OS, mirror the boot environment, so that way you could have basically redundant console, which is pretty nice. It warns you. You say fresh install, you create a root password, you hit OK, and it goes. And you're great. And it works. The default username is root on the web UI, and the password you set here is what it is. So the documentation really has me happy. Directory, if I want to set up Active Directory services and all that. I have to say, and it goes with the title of this video, why the hell didn't I do this earlier? This has got to be one of the coolest things. It was once I figured it out, and a lot of it's my own stupidity. Once I figured it out, I love it, and I will never go to anything else. I don't see the point. Like, I don't have to worry about my data. It's safe. I have Plex running on here. It's one less freaking box I have to build. It's just great. I really recommend everybody do this. And if you really want one of these and you don't want to build your own, because trust me, a Dell Precision T3400 that you see right there with a Core 2 Duo and 8 gigs of DDR2, and I'm pretty sure it's like not the I don't think it's the 1333. I think it's like the 800 hertz or megahertz or whatever. I don't know what actual speed DDR runs on. Yeah, I am so looking forward to upgrading it. I love my box. Don't get me wrong, I love it. But I keep seeming to fix shit with shit that's not any better. I never upgrade. I just slightly upgrade. You know, this box is only like probably 8 years old instead of 10 like my old one was. So if you want a professional one that's awesome, I would highly recommend going to IX Systems. And let me put this out. I'm not sponsored. I'd love to be sponsored. That'd be great. But I'm not. I'm only showing you what I'm planning on doing. And I'm gonna get this bad boy. Forever I was looking at this one. It's got 4 bays. I was like, oh, I could do so much. And then they released the XL, and they're like, I don't even know why they still sell this one. I mean, I understand some people don't want to spend that much, but like, I can have twice as much. Of course, I'm gonna buy more. I'll just save up more money. So, but the good thing is, I'm not gonna have to buy drives. The IX, the large one, the FreeNAS Mini is the itty bitty one, and the FreeNAS Mini XL is this one. 8 drives. Features. It's got a powerful 8-core, 2.4 hertz. See, oh no, come back. Powerful 2.48 hertz, drawing only 17 watts. It's either a 4 or 8 bay. Uses ZFS, blah 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 blah. Up to 32 gigs of ECC memory. Right? Like yes. It's got all that stuff. We'll go to basically down here. So transmission Plex on cloud. They advertise these as basically because they know, like, right there. That's what I'm doing. Copy on write. Deduplication. I would love to turn on deduplication. I'm pretty sure I'd melt my fucking box. It's extremely processor intensive, but with the system they have here, you can actually do it. I also don't know at what point deduplication would be useful, since most of my data is videos and media. I don't know. I need to learn more about deduplication. Snapshots and clones encryption. We already went over some of that. So the FreeNAS Mini with no drives is $1,000. With the XL is $1,399. Let's go ahead and I'll show you how to customize one. The DRAM comes with 32 gigs included. So 32 gigs is pretty much the max you can push this baby at. HDD, you can choose 6 terabytes. It's going to add a lot of money. Read cache, you can add a read cache and a write cache. I don't know how much these are, like how much of a cache it actually adds, but I'm probably going to be myself adding read and write cache. The NICs, this is where it's going to get me. I'm getting the 2 gig, 1 gigabit NICs, and if I could, I would so totally, if I had a 10 gigabit switch with 4RJ45 or something like that, I would totally have the option of doing that, but I don't. And there's nothing in my freaking apartment. There's no point. Like, man, I should bring I got a 10 gigabit switch. We're gonna upgrade. No, nothing I have will, nothing. I can't benefit from it. Like a home environment with a 10 gigabits. While it's the nerd bragging point of the dreams, it's useless. And then a warranty, and you can actually have it configured before you get it, which is pretty nice. And it actually does a calculator. So like a RAID Z is 1. I did a RAID Z2. I wasn't given the option for a RAID Z3, which is RAID 10. I think it still uses the ZFS stuff, so it's still, it's pure mirror, which is nice. But 30 terabytes. If you did unconfigured, you have 48 terabytes of storage. Now, I'm probably going to stick with 3 terabyte drives, and I've got 5 right now. I'm going to upgrade to 8. And then I'm going to... So, if I was to actually price out mine... No hard drives. It's pretty much the only difference. It's going to cost me close to $1,700. After tax, it's going to be like $1,750-ish. It's going to be expensive. But I'm going to love it. And when I get it, bet your ass there's going to be a video on it. So I think that's all I have for the demo. I probably missed a lot. There's so much. Play with it yourself. I guarantee you won't regret it. And that's all I have for today. Bloop, 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 bloop. Oh, go away, FreeNAS Shark. So, I want to thank you for waiting on it. I knew that a lot of people were kind of waiting on this video, and I'm glad I hope you like it. I hope I did it justice. I hope I covered everything you wanted to know. Um, Next week's video is going to be a really cool SSH video, covering software that is, either designed, maintained, or created by the systems. So OpenBSD are the maintainers for, OpenSSH. So looking forward to that. I do have an announcement though. I have started a blog. If you've ever gone to my website, which is just masonegger.com, and you clicked on blog, you would have noticed that there was actually a small little blog section that I had hand built myself in Django, that I ended up not liking. So I actually, and don't shoot me, I built a blog in WordPress. It's my own hosted WordPress, and I have hardened the security. And actually, my first blog post is from what my friends have told me, a very honest review of WordPress and, how it functions, how it operates. I'm not really that concerned about my blog. I have secured it. I've done what I can to make it secure. You know, I've done my homework. I did what I needed to do. And read the blog post. I think you'll really like it. It's a long one. I actually spent a lot of time writing it, but it does kind of go over how a majority of the time WordPress compromises happen because of either bad users or bad system administrators. And luckily for myself, I am neither one of those. My security practices, sometimes my coworkers call it obsessive. I call it necessary. So we'll see. If you like this video, leave me a like. If you want to, go ahead and subscribe. It really does, make me feel better. I get subscription notices. I'm getting like one a day, and it does feel good. I check my email. It's like, oh, somebody else likes what I have said and wants to continue to hear me talk about this stuff, and it really does make me feel good. I don't ever anticipate to be the next like PewDiePie. If there was ever, I think PewDiePie has like almost like 400 something million subscribers. If there's 400 something million people in the world that are interested in uh, BSD based topics, then we've won. That's all I can say is we've won. Well, I hope you like this video. I hope you're looking forward to next week's video, and I will see you next week.